Hi, it's Kirith here with another karting tips video, and this time we're going to be looking at corner sequences. And as our example, we'll be using a very fast and very fun combination of Symes Sweep, Pullmans and Paddock at Buckmore Park. If you do like these karting videos, feel free to subscribe and please ask any questions you have in the comments. I used to really struggle at corner sequences because I just couldn't connect them together. So I hope this video is going to be helpful for beginners, but because of the telemetry we have, it might be useful for experienced drivers too. Now this line here is our entry into the sequence, so we're going to time how long it takes to get from here to the exit at Paddock. Now we go in here to the sequence, very fast right-hander in Symes Sweep, and immediately into another fast left-hander into Pullmans, and then we crash into Paddock. We try and get a good exit, because if we can do that, then we're perfectly lined up for an overtake on the inside of Garda ahead. So in that example, it took us 10 seconds exactly to get through the sequence. Let's use that as a benchmark. But I want to show you different ways of attacking the sequence and the effect it has on lap time. For example, we could be lifting off to try and get a better line through the corners, or we could be barreling through and trying to carry as much speed as possible. In this example here, this is from my fastest lap of the Sprint 60 round 1. It's a 46.9 lap time, which I think is a decent lap time in the Club 100 karts. And my technique for this lap was to lift off when I needed to get the kart turned in to give myself a better line for the next corner. So on the throttle right now as we power towards Symes Sweep, about to hit the apex, and I lift off about now just to get my kart over more to the right hand side of the track. You can see I'm on the right hand side of this change in tarmac here. As we turn left now, I'm off the throttle again to try and get on the left hand side. I could use a lot more curb there and save a few more tenths of seconds. As we get through Pullmans, I'm about in the middle of the track here, just on the left hand side of that crack in the tarmac, and then we turned right through Paddock. So it's an okay line. I could have been a bit more on the left as we went through Pullmans, and that would have given me a better exit out of Paddock and more speed going up towards Garda. And what I'm doing with that line is I'm trying not to compromise each future corner in the sequence. If I come yeeting through Pullmans, it's just going to massively compromise my exit at Paddock. That's the philosophy with that line there. Let's have a look at it at full speed and start the timer. So we've got 10 seconds to beat. Decent line through Symes Sweep to get to the right hand side, but there's more curb I could have used here through Pullmans. But then a decent exit again through Paddock, and we stopped the clock at 9.7, so we've saved 0.2 of a second there, which is huge considering the fastest lap in this race was a low 46, so these tenths of a second really count. Now I want to show you just how effective it can be setting up overtaking opportunities if you hook up a corner sequence. So you can see here quite a long way away from the kart in front as we enter the sequence, but I get a decent exit into Symes Sweep here. But what really makes a difference is I do a much better line through Pullmans, taking a whole load of curb, crash into Paddock, get a great exit here, and then exactly what we want to be doing, which is sticking up the inside of Garda. Possibly the best overtaking opportunity of the whole lap. But I think that video really shows just how much time can be gained and lost in corner sequences. If you hook it up, you can be right up the bumper of the kart in front, but conversely, if you get it wrong, you might be looking over your shoulder at someone else trying to overtake you from behind. Now, as I mentioned, I used to really struggle at corner sequences because I used to barrel in at full chat and just end up massively compromising the future corners. So I wanted to find an example where I just kept on full throttle as much as possible through the sequence. So have a look at my right foot here to see when I'm on and off the throttle. And I'm timing it as well because I'm interested to see what the time will be through this section. So I'm fully on the throttle through Symes Sweep, and I only left off now, the last possible moment as we barrel into Paddock. I'm much more on the right hand side of the track, which has definitely got to be compromising my exit out of Paddock. But you can see that the time is a 9.78. It's exactly the time as the lap I showed you before. But what I want to show you here is that you can see on the bottom screen, that's the one we just saw when I was barreling in on full throttle. And I'm much more to the right hand side of the track as we enter Paddock. So you can see I'm on the right hand side of that crack in the tarmac, whereas in the example on the top half of the screen, just to the left of that, and that must be affecting my line into Paddock. You can also see there's a 5 mile an hour speed difference, which is pretty big, and that's because in the bottom screen, I'm desperately trying to get the kart stopped before I turn into Paddock. However, by analysing the data, we can see that these two very different ways of taking the corners take exactly the same amount of time, not just at the exit of Paddock, but even up to the run up to Garda when I extend the timing here. Even with the data showing these two methods are taking the same amount of time, my tip is still to use the lift-off technique and try and think about not compromising the future corners in the sequence. I just think this is a better technique and it's going to serve you well at different tracks. But also, it's just much harder to hang onto the kart and turn it in when you're on full throttle as you're going past the apex. So even though I love the telemetry I get from my kart videos, I don't think it tells the whole story here, which I guess is where I come in. That's all for this video. I hope you found it helpful. I've got some really cool ideas for some videos coming up, so I'll see you then.